Karen, and this is what it is. That for that split instant, I forgot that I was locked up in jail all these years, and with none of these people here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But your mind will play you so cold that I just thought everything was gonna be fine. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to forget everything behind me. You know what I'm saying? You know how you take that period before you go out and wander by yourself outside. You know, I went through all that. You know what I'm saying?
Down the street.
All that.
Going in the store. Why is this man standing so close to me?
All that. You know what I'm saying? I want to know, make sure everybody know where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? Because then I had the PTSD. So stuff was triggering me, and I didn't know nothing about PTSD.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Average person ain't gonna learn or research nothing until it hit them in the head and they got it. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm gonna find out I'm a big brain surgeon now because I learned because I got this in my head. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like that. So I had to learn, you know what I'm saying, all this stuff, you know. So man,
I
was
get
just crazy.
The survival thing.
And everything that I thought was real was just some smoke and mirrors. You know what I'm saying?
All the things you see on TV that you want to do and enjoy and everything be hunky dory. When you got out, it wasn't. You had life on life.
Yeah, again, I didn't know nothing about the PTSD. So stuff was triggering me, and I didn't know, you know, I'm just getting all my emotions and all of the triggers like police, paranoid, and crowd, and I don't understand none of this stuff. So I'm just going through it, and you know.
I want to time out real quick. Thank you, Marvin, for the heads up. We were muted, unfortunately. Thank God we have No Static Radio's platform, and it's broadcasted from there. And she surely didn't have us on silent. Thanks, Marvin. I do want to introduce to everybody Marvin Cotton Jr. Marvin is from Detroit, Michigan. He is also an exoneree. He served just a bit less than 20 years. I want to thank him for coming into our platform, offering his testimony, his story. Not only is he here in studio with us today, he will be boots on ground with us Saturday at a wrongful conviction rally. I want to thank you so much for his support. He's been in there since we made connection, and we're going to go and return and support them on October 14th, which I'll leave the floor for him to explain that rally, but it's a very powerful one about ending mass incarceration just in general. And that's why I'm loving this platform because, you know, my thing is it doesn't matter if someone was guilty or not. These men here, whether they did the crime, they didn't do the crime, they still endured the same suffering, the same pain, the PTSD, the whole 9 yards of what is really existing inside of our prison systems right now. And our people need help. So I'm hoping that bringing these guys to the table and women soon, hopefully they'll reach out. They're a little harder to get their trust, but I thank God for the guys all the time. But just using their stories to educate the public about what's really happening. You know, people are eye for an eye, but these people don't deserve to be treated less than human. And like I said before, wrongfully incarcerated people to me are the famous people of the world. And we could never compensate them for what they've endured ever. Not any dollar amount could ever compensate them for what they went through. And more so now than ever, we're having states turn people away for compensation because they just don't have the money. Injustices are coming out every single day. We need to figure it out and find it. Go ahead, Marvin. Go ahead and take the floor. Tell everyone about yourself.
1 second, Marvin, let me ask you a question. I'm familiar with Detroit and Last Scene and all the towns through there. What did you do, Jackson, Marquette, or Ionia?
I've been to 14 different prisons.
Okay.
So I was bouncing around a lot. Wow. I did 19 years, 7 months, and 12 days for a crime I didn't commit. I've only been out for just shy of 1 year. My 1 year anniversary is actually October 1st. So in 2 days, it will make 1 year. I'm actually having an event marking that milestone to kind of culminate all of the different things and people I've worked with over this last year and kind of reveal. I got a big reveal on what I got coming up next. I'm honored and I appreciate being able to speak on your platform and also to connect with you guys there in Ohio. I can't wait to see y'all October 2nd. That's going to be, that's really going to be my second wrongful conviction day. But last year, I knew nothing about it. I got out the day before, October 1st. So, the way my mind, and I'm sure you guys can attest to it. I wasn't thinking about a wrongful conviction day 24 hours after I got out.
Right.
You know, I still was, living in a daze and a haze. You know, when your reality changed so quick, so fast, it's like a bomb going off next to you, and your eyesight and your hearing and your feelings, everything is numb for a very long time. And every day it gets better, but that numbness was on me like real thick for about 3 or 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like 3 or 4 weeks. It was on me real thick. But even to this day, I still don't have the sharpness back as I had the day before I found out I was going home.
Wow.
So every day it's a process.
Right.
I went from being in handcuffs and locked up, and all of my movements being monitored. Living a life where I had to have my back against the wall, not because I had problems, but because that was the culture and the environment in which I was existing in, where anything at any given moment can take place. Mm-hmm. So that was my existence for 20 years. And then for that just to change, just like that. And the judge gave an order, and 2 hours later, I was walking across a parking lot, a free man. But of course, becoming truly free is more of a process than walking across a parking lot.
Sure is.
And it's adjustment time. I mean, you were there for them 19 years, and they made you be who you had to be in order to get through what you had to get through.
It's also something like you wave in Detroit, and we don't know each other. It's the first time we have laid eyes on each other, but our stories is like basically the same, especially when you get released. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's hardest thing to other people, but like to somebody to sit here with you, exactly how I know. You know what I'm saying? So it's some type of like kindred.
It's like a recap of last week.
We the only two in the room know what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? But it's always give me I always have a pleasure out of telling my story. You know what I'm saying? Let somebody else know. Who didn't know. And also reminded that there's still some people there. I left my son back there, my nephew, you know what I'm saying? Right. And it's just, it's crazy, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how Detroit is, but I know in Ohio, man, parole board ain't giving up nothing.
Nobody.
You know what I'm saying? Then like is they juggling like 3 different laws. They got an old law, a new law, and a new law. Right. You know what I'm saying? They just seem like, how can that go? I mean, and people just sit there and they're still functioning. And everybody know. You got people been in there for 30. Get off the subject again. My roommate did 46 years, and he's going through the process now.
Isaiah Andrews,
of being exonerated. Isaiah Andrews, yes. And like you say, it's a process, and he's still going through the process. But during this process, you know what I'm saying? It's like you still have to continue living. You know what I'm saying? And during the same process, you still got to function every day, but in the back of your mind, he got an ankle monitor on. He still got core things going on. He got some health issues going on, and no one's concerned with none of that. You know what I'm saying? Not the people who's in charge of everything. You know what I'm saying? The courts, they don't have no sympathy and no empathy and none of that.
He's 83 years old.
But that's where it shouldn't be our responsibility, but it is our duty to step in and fill those gaps.
Yeah,
I'm a part of an organization.
One of the things the guys in Michigan has done for years was attack the parole system. All right. Matter of fact, the Michigan law is that even when the parole board makes a determination about your staying or going, all right, the judge who sentenced you has an input into it. Am I correct, Marv?
Not necessarily like that. The parole board here in Michigan, when they deny somebody parole, nobody can come behind them unless it's the governor. And the governor, I've never heard of the governor getting involved with parole board business. Now you can be resentenced in front of a judge, and then maybe that'll change when you see the parole board. But the parole board in Michigan pretty much do what they want to do.
They're like Ohio.
They say judicial.
On our computers in Michigan is constant.
Well, I know they did great things for the juveniles in Michigan, and that's the thing. It's trickling down. Eventually, a real change is going to happen. But if we could unite in solidarity together, we could make that happen, because
right.
when it comes, like Ken Nixon said last week, they can't tell y'all no. If you guys form a colony, like I said, we're going to form, they can't tell y'all no.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't do it. You
voters have to hold the government accountable. And the reason that they're able to get away with the things that they're getting away with is because a lot of public is not aware of what's going on.
Exactly.
And a lot of members of the public are not directly affected by what's going on until it touches their family.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it touches your family, it's too late, because you're fighting an uphill battle opposed to getting involved beforehand and not allowing the government to just overreach. The government has a job and a duty to do for its taxpaying citizens and for its citizens. But when the government begins to overreach or do things that actually violate our rights, our constitutional rights, the public has to check the government.
For sure. And hold them accountable and expose
them accountable.
Absolutely.
That's what this rally and all this is about.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. Marvin, I'm not sure if you see my post. We're not really going to go too much into detail about it, because I know it's like a biased subject, but we lost a judge here in Cuyahoga County yesterday, I should say.
You say that again?
We lost a judge here yesterday in Cuyahoga County, a judge that most of my speech was about because it's personal to us. The same judge, Ruel Saylor, was a guest last week. That's the same judge who convicted him and then made him plead to perjury, so he wasn't compensated. The same judge who is the judge of Isaiah Andrews' case, who was 45 years wrongfully convicted, his trial is supposed to start this month. So this loss was personal to all of us. And yeah, prayers for the family, but there's no peace till there's justice for us. I mean, let's be honest. So it's going to change my speech a little bit, and I'm sure it's going to change a couple other speeches for a little bit, because last year it was a big exposure towards her and the county prosecutor. So just what a coincidence, but we have to start holding these people accountable. We have to start putting their names out there. Charles, judge, your judge, we have to make sure that people are aware, because the problem is even when we're coming across wrongful incarcerations, they're not holding the judge, the prosecutor, the police, whoever's fault it may have been, accountable, nor are they reopening cases. Right?
Now here in Michigan, and that may be a difference. In Michigan, they are reopening cases.
Okay.
Now, I haven't heard anything about a judge or a prosecutor being held accountable for any of the wrongful convictions here in Michigan. But, in Michigan and Wayne County, we have the Conviction Integrity Unit. We also have a statewide integrity unit. There are a couple other counties that have integrity units, but they haven't been funded yet. So they're waiting to actually get funding to have it up and running. So Michigan is actually leading in the country when it comes to setting a new standard when it comes to justice reform. I will give them that. Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy, she's actually leading when it comes to just setting a different standard, reviewing cases, reopening cases, reinvestigating cases. We have 30 men and one woman that's come through the Conviction Integrity Unit out of Wayne County. That's big. I spent 20 years in prison. In my first 17 years, I didn't hear about one person case being overturned, especially by the prosecutor office admitting that something had took place. Now, this is revolutionary.
Right.
But this need to be duplicated in every state in the United States. There in Ohio, it needs to be duplicated in Missouri. It needs to be duplicated in California, because wrongful convictions isn't some isolated incident.
Right.
It's happening everywhere.
Right. They got
the system is flawed.
They had a big convention every year, but COVID stopped the convention that the Ohio Innocence Project is connected with. And it's like global, man. You got people that was there from China, all around the world, you know what I'm saying, in that one room, you know what I'm saying, the national conference. And I had the opportunity to go, but I haven't been back, but COVID stopped it, you know what I'm saying. But man, it was like far out, you know what I'm saying. You go here, and all these people in this room was wrongfully incarcerated, or something had to do with, you know what I'm saying, they rights as a human, period. You know what I'm saying? They were violated, you know what I'm saying, some type of way. And man, it was unbelievable, man. It's all the people, how far it's stretched out. You know what I'm saying? As far as like how people like in China, they beat people and with just, you know, all that stuff, man. Like international, the world is looking now. Like the internet and all that, man. I mean, it's crazy, man. You can't get away with what you used to get away with. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody got a picture of it somewhere, or somebody gonna just
videotape.
Exactly.
Police
you know
got up on a telephone pole with a camera.
So
no, it's
the revolution will be televised this time. You know what I'm saying? It's going down. You know, and it take like people like you falsely me, you exonerees, but also, you know what I'm saying, the guys like him who've been in and out. You know what I'm saying? He working his part. We all do our part because he talk about the parole board. I'm not no expert on it. You know what I'm saying? I just been and I have experience with it. So my part would be, I tell what I seen, what they did to me. You know what I'm saying? I put my work in. You know what I'm saying? So now it's time for me to come out here, you know,
do your diligence
and fall with her because she already got it going on. I just stand next to her, you know what I'm saying, and support her.
Mom, one of the things I advocate in Ohio anyway is that guys know what their rights are if they're questioned, stopped, or arrested. All right. I mean, you gentlemen here, woo, man, I empathize with y'all. My heart goes out to y'all because y'all one of the caliber of the people that you was forced to be around. All right. And you know what I'm talking about, especially where you was in Michigan, you know. But a lot of that comes from you when initial everything happens from time of arrest, you're unknowledgeable and you're uneducated as to what the rules say is supposed to occur. So more times than not, people fail to do their job or make something up in order to get stuff off their desk, and you just happen to be a victim of it. And thank God you know,
you were safe.
My ignorance in one part, exactly what you said. I had went up and my trial was supposed to start November the 4th. So a couple weeks before then, my judge got me in the courtroom. The judge called me in the courtroom. And my attorney was like, hey, they finna go to trial. And they convinced me to sign the speedy trial waiver. And I signed that waiver. And then when it came 2 weeks later, I went into court and it was like, the way it made it look, it was like my defense asked for a continuance. You know, they twisted it up so raw, you know what I'm saying? And I was ignorant to the fact of what was going on. And I could have walked in that courtroom and just faced my accuser and had demanded my trial, and they had no evidence at that time and walked out that door. But I didn't know, just like you said, the ignorance, you know what I'm saying? And I did not know that. You know what I'm saying?
So now we have a responsibility to make sure that those that don't know, because they don't. Learning when you're in prison, you already in a grave you're trying to dig yourself out of. Mm-hmm. But we have a lot of young people that don't know their rights. They don't know how to interact with law enforcement first contact. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't know that they don't have to interact with law enforcement at all. Right. So we have to learn different ways and become more effective at just educating people on how to interact with law enforcement, as well as, you know, they just need to learn their rights. You know, you're an American citizen, you have rights. The government can't just step on you. And if they do step on you, you have a process in which you can take. A lot of the exonerees would have never end up spending all that time in prison had we known our rights. Most of us.
As exonerees, I'm hoping that, you know, the organization of exonerees also take interest in educating those that may have to become exonerees in 2045 when I ain't here. Because what these folks is doing, they didn't start it with you. I tell you this, and, you know, I won't hurt your feelings because I know you're the only one in the whole world having to. They didn't start with you. They didn't start with him. Right. All right. And it's not a racial issue. It's a class issue. And to get to work off my desk. I want to go play golf or whatever. So as a consequence, what the rights that's supposed to be guaranteed you, that you're supposed to be entitled to, all right, the fairness, the examination of the record, all right, your discovery and everything else, they go around it. They trick you how to extend the trial that's contrary to your best interest and everything else. But if you know and able to make an informed and educated decision, a lot of things that could happen may not happen.
Well, just you know, I have to push back just a little bit on it with it not being a race issue, because most of the exonerees, almost 95% of the exonerees in Michigan are Black.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we all get together, they think it's some sort of Black convention,
right?
Okay.
And it look like,
being honest. Now we have a few of our white brother exonerees, and we have our sister Julie, who's a white woman, but mostly everyone, because you know from just living life that police contact is a little bit different when you're a Black person.
Yes.
And when you're Black and you're young, and they know you come from a poor area, now they approaching you. You got 3 strikes against you right off the top. And sometimes it's those attitudes that leads to wrongful convictions, you know, because the problems that we facing is really system problems. But those systems are governed by people with attitudes that's upholding those systems. Now, I've met a lot of white innocent people in prison. I know they're innocent. I can look at their case. I can read their case. I look into the case and look into them. And we're fighting to get them out as well. So we don't make it a Black issue or a white issue at all. Right. However, when you look at all of us, you can't help but wonder or help but know that we know that race played a big part in it.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you know, I mean, that's a given, all right, but it's also a class issue. If you got the money, you ain't got to go no place. If you're from a well-to family, if you're educated, if you're able to get the proper defense.
I don't know. I kind of beg to differ with that, because look at Alfred. Alfred had things going on. He wasn't. But
look what he looked like.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
right,
you know, I ain't being funny.
No, I get, but I'm saying like sometimes it don't even matter how much money you got either.
Well, if you don't know, regardless, I mean, it's nothing that I personally do in my life now that I embark upon that I don't have some type of knowledge. I'm not a mechanic even, but I know enough about cars. When I actually got to put on my rack and show me what he's going to do, I can get a perception of what's going to happen. Even I can get on Google and look at it. I need to know. Right. All right, because my history is different. I've had repeated incarcerations because I was on a different side of the fence. But one of the things, and guys always ask me, say, well, hey man, you know, how you have an L and you get 7 different paroles? I said, one is God, and I applied myself. All right. And one of the things I learned through my checkered history is that if people ain't got to work generally, then they won't want to work. If I can get up early and go see my girlfriend, I can get early to do this here. So I got this case on my thing. It's unlikely this guy is going to be mount up enough for defense or enough argument. So I'm going to get this out the way. All right. And because of the lack of standards or ethics or character of that individual, that occurs. It occurred with you. It occurred with him. It occurred with numerous other people. We are predominantly victims of it, but it occurs nonstop. It occurs to the guy that the police say they found a smidgen of dope in his car because he didn't like him in the neighborhood. Other little things go on, and it's the corruption and the taintedness of law enforcement in dealing with people without means. Right. All right, and how they view us and how they handle us.
Yeah, the assumption of being guilty. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what I said last. You know, it's always been we're guilty until we prove our innocence, and that's not the way it should be.
Again, so. It's also like I would say no black white thing in my situation because the prosecutor Stephanie Taylor Jones was black. Her assistant prosecutor prosecuted me. His name was Graves. He was black, and it's just like, and so many people went down. And it's all the exonerees, at least 32 in Ohio exonerated, and all of us did around the same amount of time. We all got locked up around the same era. So in her era, they built statues of this lady and all that. Somebody need to take a look because she might be like that guy in Pennsylvania, and they might be going to take that statue down, man. Because in her era, majority of us that was exonerated went down then. So somebody was pulling the strings of all this here. Somebody got to get permission for them. Get them. You understand? And it was her era. So just like somebody say, it's integrity unit in Ohio.
Cuyahoga County. That's what I was going to say earlier.
In Cuyahoga, but I don't know about the word integrity. I don't know what that meaning of the word is because they ain't let nobody go. They ain't giving nobody a meaningful consideration. Not for what I see. The people who dealt with them saying like They're just doing it as a procedure to say that they done it.
It's for society.
You know what I'm saying?
County.
That's why we gotta help them move the needle. Like I said, we know the system is broke, but we have a lot of people that are invested in not even admitting that the system is broke. Sometimes they may set up these units in order to look like they're trying to do the right thing, but if the work is not being done, then you're not doing the right thing, because we know we have a broken system. We know there are innocent people incarcerated, and if you're not letting innocent people out, then we know you're not doing your job, because we know the system is broken. We know the system is flawed. We know we have individuals, officials, government officials, dirty and corrupt police officers that's messing over people. You know, so those units should have numbers to justify their existence.
Yeah,
exactly. Because we was on a Zoom meeting with a prosecutor from Philadelphia, and their integrity unit, they released like 17 people. You know what I'm saying? In a little short time that they was in existence. You know what I'm saying? And
those numbers are just drops in the bucket.
They didn't even show up. You know,
those numbers are drops in the bucket. In Michigan, we have 32 in the last 3 years.
I'm just saying, those are drops. Good. We don't have none. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, what Michigan has been, revolutionary in regards to what they've been doing for years. I studied a lot of cases coming out of Michigan. I knew a lot of people in Michigan, like I spoke of Jackson Island thing. And that's one of the things that I think that these people say they do things. Who's watching them do these things, and how knowledgeable are you as an individual, black, white, green, orange, purple, Martian, all right, knowing about what's supposed to occur? I mean, regrettably, I've been in more jails than y'all have been, county jails and whatnot. And one of the things that's most prominent in all of them, as when you step through the door, you always hear somebody, when you bring this bunk in there, ask you, man, what do you think they're going to do? What do you think going to happen? My lawyer said this. Is that what happened? That being that little bit unknowledgeable, not knowing what the charge is, what comes next, what happens next, all right, it makes you a victim, all right? Which means that anything he tells you, or anything your lawyer tells you, maybe he's on your side, but you don't know enough to make an educated decision yourself. Like, no, I don't want to waive my speedy trial, all right? Under no circumstances. My 90 days is up. My 90 days is up in 14 days. If you don't take me to trial in 14 days, you got to let me go, all right? I mean, little things like that adds to and benefits those who don't do the right things and wrongfully convict individuals, because you just don't know. You don't know.
I mean, my husband was 17 when he was convicted, and you would think that he would have had a guardian ad litem.
And one of the things, like her husband, I read through the case, one of the most simplest things occurred with him as a juvenile was never supposed to occur. It was simple. You have to give me a bond over hearing. Somebody got to be there. We got to have a psychiatrist evaluation and a determination pro or con. Guys don't have no knowledge this is going to happen. And there's a lot of juveniles out here doing some dumb stuff, some riding with guys doing dumb stuff that are really not at fault.
Right.
But once they go through that system, once they get pushed into the adult system, all right, and they get to where they got to get to, they got some decisions to make, all right? And then decisions are not good decisions. And going down the line 20 years, 27 years, they really didn't do anything and they're exonerated, all right? A lot of that could have been lessened if they were a little bit knowledgeable, okay? And because them folks won't continue to do wrong. That's what they do. That's their job.
Right. Yeah. But just to make sure that we being clear, the exonerated, we don't have any responsibility when it comes to wrongful convictions, because the root word in wrongful convictions is wrong. And it's not due to any wrong that the exonerated has done. We haven't done anything wrong. The government has a duty and a responsibility to protect us.
Right.
And whether we knowledgeable or not, it's always better to be knowledgeable. But whether we knowledgeable or not, we are citizens, and we have a right not to be stepped on by our government. Our government has a responsibility to protect us. They have a responsibility to give us justice. And when we don't know, our government still has a responsibility to give us justice. In the National Organization of Exonerees, which I'm a member of, we're big on that. We're big on holding the government accountable. And when the government do the right thing, we back them up. you know, when they do the right thing, we make sure that the public know that the government just did the right thing.
Correct.
You know, because our word means something to us as well. We're not just trying to chew everybody out for every little wrong thing they do. When they do the right thing, we make sure voters and taxpaying citizens know that's what the government's supposed to do, what they just did right there in this case right here.
Goes a long way.
Right.
Absolutely.
And actually that the event on the 14th there in Lansing is conducted by a prosecutor, correct?
Well, she's the keynote speaker. And she's evolved.
Right.
You know, when you look at where she was at 10, 15, 20 years ago and where she's at now, big difference. But there's a revolution going on here in Michigan. And we're not just trying to ride the wave, we're trying to push it even farther. On October 14th, there's going to be several Michigan senators there. There's going to be several Michigan representatives there. There's going to be speakers and just joining in there. You're going to have, I think, 84, 85 organizations there. So there's something happening in Michigan that we hoping we can begin to further the conversation for justice reform in the entire Midwest and then the entire country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're going to.
Absolutely.
We've got Ohio, we've got Michigan now, we've got Ricky over in Missouri. We just got to keep branching out, you know?
Absolutely. Because nobody could tell our stories like us.
Never.
And you said, I think, complimented what I was saying about knowing. You said that when they do the right things, you compliment, you support them. When they do the wrong things, it's knowing. Because if you don't know, even when they do wrong, which they uphold and say we did it right. If you don't know that is wrong, that it can't happen, like your situation, they said we did everything right, okay? Then you don't know where to even present that issue at, all right? And what Michigan is doing is wonderful. I applaud you, I commend you, and I hope I can be a part of it in some manner or form.
Yes, for sure.
But I just believe in, educating guys and letting guys know and be aware, all right, that people sometimes don't do exactly what they're supposed to be, whether it's the governor, president,
I mean, they're crooks.
And because of that, like I'm an old fighter, and the last thing they tell you in that ring is what? Protect yourself at all times. All right? Yeah. And I advocate that for everybody, not just guys that have been back and forth or exonerees, but period. All right? You have an obligation and a duty to do what the last thing they tell you in that ring. Protect yourself at all times. And the only way you can protect yourself at all times is with knowledge.
Amen.
But again, he say a lot of people don't even want to look at it until it fall on their head. You know what I'm saying? That was my situation. I ain't know nothing about none of this until I went through it. When I went through it, got in there, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to find out what they doing to me. And I'm asking questions now, and I'm trying to find out what I maybe should have knew, and maybe, you know what I'm saying? But like he said again, I ain't do nothing wrong. You know what I mean?
Reach one, teach one. And I feel like the more you have to stay persistent and keep pressure. I mean, I've been in this, I've been investigating my husband's case, but I could tell you I've ripped his case apart for the last 6 years, all on my own. And I've called lawyers. I've tried to find out how much, even his public defender told me 2 years ago that my husband should never still even be incarcerated. He should have won on his appeal, which he did not. And it's been frustrating. I found the DNA evidence that was never disclosed during trial. It's been frustrating, but some people just don't have that willpower, or they're not that strong-willed like we are. So we just have to continue to keep pushing.
And we have to keep our lists. Those judges that's sitting in courts of appeals, they have to run for those offices.
Amen.
We got to start keeping lists of the ones that's following the Constitution and the ones that's not. And we got to hold them accountable in those polls. The public, we have the power.
Yes, we do.
The good jobs that they have that's making all of this good money. We make sure they have good health care, good dental. They have good protection. They work in these beautiful buildings. All of that money comes right out of taxpayers' pockets.
Right.
Taxpayers, we vote. We can take those jobs from anybody that's not doing their job. whether it's a judge, a mayor, city council, state representatives, U.S. representatives, president. You know, we control they work for us. They are public servants.
Especially in your own towns, communities, cities, and state, y'all have to. I mean, even if you don't feel the president vote matters, locally it absolutely does. It's us. No one else outside of our communities can vote for those people that we're putting in office.
Absolutely.
And one thing is you know, we're talking about taxpayers and people that aren't affected. We really need people to start realizing that taxpayers are affected by incarceration every which way you look at it. We're the ones that are paying for them here in Ohio, $80 a day per person, which averages out to $40,000 a year. We have 48,000, maybe 49 by now, 49,000 incarcerated. The numbers aren't going down. We're footing the bill up for this. And it is said that, you know, there are hundreds of people actually innocent sitting behind those walls. And unfortunately, they've lost their family over decades. They've lost their support. It's extremely expensive to love somebody that is incarcerated, whether they're guilty or not. It is extremely expensive. So we have to keep pushing. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep bonding together in solidarity. You know, we all might have our different goals and our different missions as far as our organizations go. But as long as we can keep showing up together, like Saturday, we have numerous different not 80 something, Marvin, because that's spectacular. Let me say, if I could get 80 organizations here in Ohio, oh my God, how tremendous would that be? But, you know, we'll have several different people showing up Saturday for Wrongful Conviction Day, October 2nd. We will be posted in front of Cuyahoga County Justice Center on Lakeside Avenue, parking right across the street at the courthouse, right? Yeah, courthouse. Yeah. $10. You can park there all day and walk right across the street and you're there. 2:30. Marvin Cotton from Detroit will be there.
I can't wait.
Jackson will be there. What's that?
I said I can't wait.
Oh, we're super excited. It's like I said, it's like a national holiday for me, and I put my all into it, and I just can't wait for Saturday. News will be there. We will have the news there. Several different news stations, especially here from Cleveland. Let's do the darn thing. Let's spread a lot of education on wrongful convictions. We also have an attorney speaking as well. She's our KK of Cleveland is what we call her. She's powerful. She is the truth. And several different other organizations that will be speaking to that, not just support wrongful convictions and what we're doing here, but really have been boots on ground with maintaining the conditions and the inhumane conditions inside and the treatment inside of our prisons, which that's what I think people fail to realize is that the pain that you guys went through, the suffering that you guys went through, the abuse that you went through, the things that you've seen, that you've noticed, the trauma. We need people to start being more compassionate. And we get it that if it's not happening to your loved one, you simply don't care, but you're footing the bill of people being treated less than animals. And I don't even say that people should be treated like animals, but we're having people treated like they're less than nothing. And no one's life is worth less than anyone else's. So there's no reason for this treatment inside of our prisons, regardless, like I said, if they're guilty or not. Like I said, these men from last week and this week have endured so much pain for decades. It took them decades. And that's how long it really does take to prove your innocence after being convicted guilty, period. They can't go to the parole board and possibly have some type of safe route that way, because they can't go in there claiming innocence. They're automatically going to be flopped. They're continuously being resentenced. Charles has been to the parole board. Marvin, I'm not sure if you have, but we know Larice last week went there twice. Same old story. If the parole board's not even letting these people out at absolute discretion, we definitely need to stand up and make noise for those that are wrongfully incarcerated to be sure that they have an avenue, that they have support, and they have us. Each one teach one. Every single one we know about. If we have to show up, we're going to show up. Isaiah Andrews, 45 years of wrongful incarceration. The prosecutors are still trying to convict him. 45 years. He's 83 years old right now. And Charles told you, I've witnessed it myself, wearing an ankle monitor. Wearing an ankle monitor at 83 years old. Has had health issues, been in and out the hospital. Why?
Permission to go to the hospital.
Why are we paying for this? I mean, there's no evidence. It's clear as day. He's an innocent man, and we're still trying to convict him. It's up for us. You know, nobody knew about this. We tried to show up and rally on his behalf. We will be saying his name on October 2nd. Like I said, October 18th, when his trial is supposed to start. Unfortunately, the judge passed away yesterday, so I'm sure that'll postpone it a little bit more, but that's better for us, right? We'll be able to form a better unity and get more people boots on ground when he does go back to court. We want them to drop charges. It's costing us taxpayers money to keep these people incarcerated. It cost us money to keep him incarcerated 27 years. Marvin, the people of Michigan, for 20 years. I mean, when is enough going to be enough to us, the people? As Marvin said, us, the people. As everyone says, we the people. We have the power. We have to start acting like it, period.
Well said.
Well said.
Thank you.
You know, but Marvin, even yourself, one of the things I'm saying, and the brother here was just saying about how it was when he first got home and how shocked he was and everything. I mean, for 19 years and some months, you told me you adapted to a dysfunctional environment. You had to, because you was there. You wanted to get out of there. You know, you had to do whatever you had to do, you know. And a lot of guys unknowingly have them scars that they carry when they bring them back into the communities. All right. And this is one of the things that I try to advocate for Epic, you understand? Because like when guys here in Ohio go to the pro board, if you don't admit responsibility, their rules state that they're not supposed to consider you for release. All right. And what they're operating off of is a court that sent you there and probably a doctor, police report that said you did something that you didn't. Okay. One of the things that I was blessed to win a lawsuit against the Ohio Pro Board was about their records. And that's how I was able to obtain my release this time. Yes. If their records are in error, then all the decisions thereafter is also going to be in error. And what you have an obligation to do is to make sure the correct information is put into the record. If the record reflects the correct information, the wrong things cannot happen. All right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just how it happens. But we allow, permit, or overlook the wrong things putting in there, saying that it won't matter. All right? And then down the line, it does matter, even when you get yours, because, hey, man, wait, this ain't happened. Like this, the police reports say this here. If that's not correct, that's what the prosecutor will act upon, and that's what the judge is going to believe. And 10, 20 years down the road, that's what the pro board is going to see and accept as being factual when it's not, And a lot of the things that occur is the people that are doing their job ain't doing what they're supposed to do. They're not being compassionate, they're not being humane, all right? But they also are operating off an erroneous or inaccurate record or inaccurate documentation that's been applied to whatever next step it is in the due process thing, they say, all right, that leads to your conviction, and anything that is overlooked, ignored, or not accurate in that record.
Make sure they do all this.
One of the things that I think we're obligated to do is to know a little bit. You gotta know a lot. I can't change my brakes, but I can look at it, tell you how it's supposed to go.
Okay.
It's just looking at it. I mean, this is me being different, all right?
I went to parole board, and they had false information, and I tried to use that to try to get some type of appeal. All they did with that false information was make the false information the correct information. Send me a letter, say thank you for the correct information, and you still got to do these 8 years that we gave you.
You was too easily pacified. Same situation. I'm not saying that in a derogatory fashion. I'm just telling you what occurred factual. All right. In my particular situation, which is in Ohio Supreme Court, 2014, Ohio 4270. All right. My history is different from y'all. I was a career criminal. All right. I just made some decisions this time. If the Lord blessed me to get out, I was going to be on a mission in a different direction, and I am. Okay. But I went to the pro board. I did something soft, hustling. Okay. I'm saying this because black folks can relate to what I'm saying about hustling. All right. I stole a piece of paper from a doctor's office, blank script. It was wrong, 1,000% wrong. I wish I hadn't did it, but it was a soft hustle, flat foot. Okay. I'm going to send it to the boys that write scripts. They're going to get some pills. All right. I did it so often because that's what people that do things wrong do. They keep doing the same thing, It's part of that mentality, that criminal mentality, which is 1,000%, but it's prevalent in the black neighborhoods. Okay. We'll get retro about it. All right. Anyway, I go to court give me 6 months. I go to the pro board. The pro board said, Mr. Keith, you've been paroled 8 times on this life sentence. I said, no, ma'am. I've been paroled 6. She says, no, 8. I said, okay. I was good with it because I knew where I was going to go. Come out the Pro Bowl, you wait 2-3 weeks, everybody say, my nickname's Sleepy. Sleepy. What do you think they're gonna do? It's man, not top my head off. The woman talk about all my supervision failures, and rightfully so. But each time I return with a new case, like a fool. All right. But that was then. Anyway, they come back with this 8 on papers. I said, oh, I got them. I presented it to them. They said it didn't make no difference. I said, okay. I took it to the court, Tempted Court of Appeals, and a mandamus. And part of my argument was, I'm a country boy, so I put things in simple terms. A 25% increase is significant. Numbers matter. Everything, you a number, I'm a number, Social Security number, driver license number, your numbers. That's how America works. I hate to tell you, but it's how it works, your numbers. Somebody got your name someplace. Somebody got my name someplace. It's your number, all right? So I said, listen, if this is 25, would you accept a 25 decrease in your income next month? And if the record doesn't matter, don't use my record. I'm terrible. I got homicides and other something on my record. Let's use Barack's record for me. His record don't matter. And the 10th district said, oh, your past history, this is wrong. You did this, you did that, and everything else. So I end up having to go to the House Supreme Court. The most difficult thing about the House Supreme Court is your document preparation. Your argument can still be the same. The Court of Appeals denied me. They ain't got to do nothing. They say they changed it in their records. It's good. So I go to the Supreme Court and say, hey, I ain't had a hearing. Because that information you use increased my previous releases by 25%. That don't apply to me. So if that don't apply to me, I believe there's other stuff in the record that also might not apply to me. If it don't apply to me, I ain't had a hearing. You done heard something, but you ain't heard me. All right? And this is how I won that. It's different thinking, admittedly, all right? But it worked. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I'm advocating for people to know something, to know an error, because in the course of your 27 years, perhaps in the course of your 19 years, you've seen guys come back from the pro board and they had their head down. And he said, man, what's happening? Man, they give me some more years, man. Man, they said I did this, man. I didn't do that, man. That ain't how that crime happened. Okay, so that means that somebody have evaluated you from a set of information that belongs to somebody over there because it didn't apply to you. All right, but if you don't know and don't know how to identify these things, that people make errors, they're trying to get home, play golf or whatever, all right, then you're at risk. Because a lot of guys I was assisted to get out because the record was not them. I mean, you wouldn't pay the people next door a light bill because they don't go to your house. So why should you separate determination or information?
Well,
all right.
Now, it's not always that easy to get information corrected. Like in Michigan, for example, you have to file a 6,500 motion in order to correct, like if something is in your pre-sentence report is wrong, and the judge gave you more time because of that wrong information. It's supposed to be as easy as filing a motion into the courts, which is not easy, but you file a motion into the courts, proving that the information is wrong. A lot of times the judge just rubber stamp it, won't even give you an opinion on it, deny it, and tell you to go to the Court of Appeals. Then you go to the Michigan Supreme Court and they do the same thing. Then you go to the federal court and they do the same thing. So the problem isn't mechanisms. The problem is people not doing the right thing. People looking at innocence and saying, I'm not looking at it. People looking at procedure and say, yeah, I know the right procedure and I know they didn't do the right procedure, but I'm still going to deny you anyway.
Right. So
the problem isn't procedure. The problem is people not doing the right thing. People make up the system that we living in. Yes, I'm glad it worked out for you. But you are an anomaly when it comes to correcting things, because oftentimes I filed nearly 24 appeals.
Okay, I mean,
before.
I mean, you're correct. I'm an anomaly for the whole situation because I've been different. All right.
No, that's not why I say you're an anomaly. I say you're an anomaly because you actually made them correct something.
Right. That's what you talk about.
Okay,
so I'm saying you are an anomaly because what they normally do is say, step it, deny, move to the next.
I got that? I came back with 6 months. That was in 2018. 2011, November. I got out March 16th of 2020. 8 years on what was a little 6-5 thing. But I never, every day, anybody that didn't been with me, they said, what's up with your man? I said, I gotta get out of here, hustle. I said, man, listen. And numerous courts told me no, all right? But to me, my argument was so profound and I was so serious. Matter of fact, I hope this don't get me violated. But I got a friend out in the car now waiting on me. But he had asked me, he said, Sleepy man, she going to board? I said, yeah. He said, what do you think they're gonna do? I said, I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna let me go. I'm gonna put a hole in their fence. You know, I'm saying that, thank God that didn't occur. But one of the things I did, and I've been like this here, I'm not saying that in a prideful manner, okay? I'm saying it in a manner that I hope no individual follow in my footsteps. But one of the things that made me different, and you say you remember me, all right, you know, I did things in the penitentiary that you do in the penitentiary. The minute I walked in that door and looked around, and it was nothing to be afraid of because I had been 2-3 times and everybody know who the sleeper is, all right? First thing I say, I get out this ML. I'm coming out of here. And I got busy, all right? The same way you got them boys in the joint to get busy, perfecting their jump shot, all right? Same boys that, you know, perfect their business on doing other things they doing, running a store or doing whatever they doing, all right? I'm just saying that if you have a little bit of knowledge and got a little bit of help, you don't need no, but because you're there. All right, you're there if you apply yourself. And every time I've been in through litigation or otherwise,
I'm gonna interrupt because I was a part when Bernard came home last year. We connected right away. I was actually a part of his. When he came home, they tried to make him sign a violent offender database, which was very much so like any other database, any type of offender database. They just wanted control and power over him. But the problem is you're coming home on parole for 5 years. They want you on this database for 10, which was uncalled for. But I will say those prosecutors were hungry to try and make him have to sign that violent offender database. And they did. They subpoenaed all of his logs for when he signed in and signed out at that law library. And I kid you guys not. It was inches full from both Pickaway and Richland. Bernard ain't no joke. When it comes to, he dug his way out. Fortunately for him, you know, he made it. When people are constantly being flopped or resentenced, I like to call it at the parole board, I always tell them, look up Keith for State of Ohio. You know, if he can do it, anybody can. And, you know, you just can't give up. You got to keep fighting. But yeah,
okay, go ahead. Let me get, you know, get away from that. But one thing I'm saying is this here. I had numerous courts tell me no. They had every reason to tell me no, all right? But I looked at the rules, okay? I looked at the rules. Everything in America has a rule. Mm-hmm. Nothing in America does not have a rule. Procedural rule, a process rule, and everything else. You can't go to 2 if you don't stop at 1. That's how it goes, all right? When you see any documentation, I'm a documentation master, that go from 1 to 5, something's missing. We can't get to 5 without getting to 2, 3, 4.
Right.
All right? But, you know, for a lot of your exonerees, if you speak with them and talk about the experiences they spent, you know, when they got convicted, there was jumps. There was jumps in any period in the course of them. They said, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe this is not quite right. All right? What might not have happened wouldn't have happened, which was, you know, their incarceration, you know? So, I mean, it's just my view on it because I've been a different orientation for a lot of years of my life, you know, and I believe it. I know what it's supposed to do. You know, they have a code of ethics. They have judicial canons. They have, even Cleveland, I was telling you about Cleveland.
If you by chance see Chris Smith, Marvin, pop in, I don't know if you can see the guests that pop in and out. Let me know.
Anyway, well, you know, what I'm saying, like I empathize with that. There's a lot of wrong people in there, but I don't live a little longer than y'all. And one of the things I understand is like the devil. You're not gonna ever stop wrong people. People are gonna continue to do wrong. All right. People are gonna continue not doing what they're supposed to do in their functions as public officials, in their functions in the courtrooms and the prosecutor's office and the courts.
Unfortunately for them, we're not going to continue. We're not going to stop doing right.
Right.
So as much as they do wrong, we're going to be right there doing right, showing them that you being wrong.
Okay.
And I'm never going to allow the fact that people are going to do wrong as a reason not to fight. you know, that just made me want to fight even harder. We got to push back. We got to push back because the system is messed up because we went so many years without the proper pushback. But right now, today is different. Not only am I on the front line when it comes to wrongful convictions, but coming up with alternatives because I'm pushing back on people that's in the neighborhoods doing violence. You out here in the community doing the wrong thing. I'm pushing back on that. But I'm also pushing back on judges that's over sentencing people. Judges that's allowing prosecutors to run amok in their courtrooms. Pushing back on prosecutors that's not holding police officers accountable. Pushing back on police officers that's not doing what they're supposed to do in the community. And just because we have these long lines and chains of people that's not doing the right thing, we have an even more obligation to push back even harder. We travel to Missouri a lot because there's some big cases down there. Kevin Strickland and Lamar Johnson, two innocent men that the prosecutors are saying are innocent, but the attorney general and the governor there are saying, well, they didn't follow the proper procedure. See, yes, there's rules to everything, but sometimes the rules that's there are not just.
Amen.
Just because there's a rule there don't mean it's right. So those rules have to either be changed or removed. And we as the people, we have a responsibility to make sure that the rules reflect the type of society that we want.
Amen. Yeah, it starts with us. It really, truly does.
Well, we're gonna have to come together and have a concentrated push.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is presently in effect, what's presently established, woo!
It's not worked. It hasn't worked. It won't work.
But they ain't gonna let it go.
Reform. We have to reconstruct.
They ain't gonna let it go. They are not. I mean, they, parentheses, are not gonna let it go. Wow. All right, it's gonna take some work. And what I'm saying, Marvin, I agree with you 1,000%, man. I commend you, applaud you, and I want to meet you so bad. I don't know what to do. But this is what I'm saying. I'm a little bit older than you. I'm 67. You know, you did 19 years. You're still a lot younger than me. But because I done got old and come to a certain realization, one of the things on my mind is what this gonna look like in the next 50 years. Because I got 50 years in the correction system one way or another. I first went in at 17 on a homicide conviction. All right. Now I'm 67 on parole. That's 50 years, however you want to count. Okay. But because I've come to a certain maturity and I'm still gaining a little bit of wisdom, I wonder what's going to happen to my partner's brother, my partner's daughter, my partner's son, the guy down the street I see riding a bicycle. All right. Little boy that I see his daddy walking him across the street. All right. And one of the things I know, because I've seen quite a bit in 6, 7 years, you know, I've seen Martin, I've seen Malcolm, I've seen both the Kennedys. All right. I've seen a whole lot of things, you know, I've seen sitting on the back of the black president. I've seen a lot of things.
To see that, right?
And some things are still constant. All right. You know, and they come back. You know, the boy Floyd, other things that's been going on for a long time. You gentlemen, somewhere in the United States, some young man is being convicted for something
people
he
knowing
didn't
about
do.
it now.
Yeah.
All right, guaranteed. All right, and maybe down the line we'll still find out and straighten it out. But being a little bit in the construction field, I know that if I'm off an eighth of an inch down here in my footer, time I get to my peak, I'm way off. All right, so I got to know that this has to be level and plumb with that there. And if I know that, I can keep my peak straight. All right? Because people always going to do sloppy stuff. It's going to happen. The man going to cut you off with me down the road for no reason. The girl at the supermarket going to say something stupid to you for no reason. It's just the natural order thing, how things are, you know? But we need to get together all the way across the board that 50 years down the road, I won't be here, but I look down on y'all, you know, and y'all won't be talking about somebody else that's an exoneree. Because maybe he can prevent that from happening to him. Because you're never, Marvin, going to be the same as you would have been if you hadn't did the 19 years. And you never get over that hurt for your family. I mean, it's just how it is.
Well,
and that's a message that
just so you know,
as well.
just so you know, big bro, I didn't come out of prison hurt or bitter.
No.
Not even a little bit.
Okay.
Not even a little bit. Of course, prison changed me. I wouldn't be the man that I am. I was a street guy. I grew up in the streets, grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods in Detroit. Grew up not on the block. I grew up in the streets.
In the block. Bruce, right.
In the streets.
Okay.
And prison definitely changed me. Although I went to prison for a crime I didn't commit, I was able to grow a lot in there. I became the man that I am now. I wouldn't be fighting as hard as I am now if I didn't learn a lot of the lessons that I learned in prison.
Learn how to fight.
And I do believe now maybe I'm a bit of an optimist, but I do believe that one person can change the way that everything is done. And I really believe that a group of people can multiply that effort. Now, maybe I'm just an optimist, but I study history. History. Yeah. And throughout history, you always had individuals that were born that shook up everything. Everything. Conquered whole nations. And if one man can conquer a nation or inspire an army to conquer a nation, I believe that we together can inspire this country to do better than it's doing. To where one day there will be no need to have an exoneree because we didn't fix the system. I believe it can happen.
I do too.
I believe it can happen. I do too. And that's what keeps me.
I mean, I'm glad you're an optimist, and I support your being an optimist.
And I'm a realist. I'm an optimist and a realist.
One of the things I've learned in 7 years, because I do it every day, people make mistakes. All right. And as long as people touch stuff, all right, and that's what's happening in the courtroom, and and police officers and everything else. People make errors, all right, and sometimes we're slow to admit our error. I was for 100 years, okay, but when you do, then you change it. But because of such, I mean, some errors, I mean, say they won't occur, maybe they won't.
But,
all right, but chances is,
by us talking in this conversation we having now, the people that make that error, everybody not gonna make the error. See, he make the error. Now the next man ain't gonna straighten that out. Send it back to him, like that you said, how you got to your court. You kept getting knocked down, but you kept taking it back up in there.
Right. That is if you're aware of what the next procedure is. Because I'm saying this here,
we're making it aware.
I mean,
the internet.
And perhaps I shouldn't say this thing, but law enforcement, legal law enforcement. They play golf together. They go to dinners together. They know everybody. I'm saying this here. So Bob makes an error. Hey, Bill, this ain't quite right. Oh man, you know Judy just had a baby. Man, cover that for me, man.
Yeah, but I feel
and that's how it happens.
Well, and that's fine. But I feel like what's going on here is we're in the process of forming a colony. Together we are better. Together we rise. My shirt says that.
Yes.
There's always to be room for error and trials. You know, we just have to make sure that whoever's making them errors and trials is accountable. Now we ain't been doing that.
Make a difference too.
Now, no offense, because I'm only 37 years old, so I think I might be the young buck, even with our engineer in the room. Mm-hmm. But for 37 years, I don't feel that reform, which I don't even like the word reform, reconstruction to me. It's not been what it is now as it's been since I've been growing up. 10 years ago, you didn't see people out on the streets crying about wrongful convictions. 10 years ago, you didn't have people crying in the streets about parole and about voting and about, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've been creating voting blocks for years. It just hasn't worked. So now we just have to come out and make more noise and be greater. Period. Period. Preach one, teach one. If you could persuade one person a day, you could persuade one person a day. Imagine how many more people that one person's going to persuade. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. Wrongful convictions, period, is wrong. There's no ands, is, buts about it. There's no discussion. There's no argument. There's no debate, period. And there's no difference in the way someone who was wrongfully incarcerated and somebody that was guilty beyond charges. There's no difference in what they endure inside those walls. They're not treated any better just because they claim they're innocent. They're treated just as poor as they would if they were factually guilty. And the way we're having people treated inside these prisons is inhumane. It really is inhumane, period. Bottom line. And we have to stick together. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. Everybody, like I said, has their own missions and goals. But I feel like as long as we can bond together and we can keep it cordial, we're on to do great things, for real. Especially building the National Organization of Exonerees. Marvin, I'm truly blessed and honored to be a part of that. Like I said, Marvin and I, we've kind of been following each other hardcore these last few weeks. I'm very thankful that he's taking the initiative to drive here to Cleveland to be a part of our.
I look forward to coming down there and meeting you guys. I love what you guys are doing down there. You don't see the unity in a lot of states as I see there in Ohio. We have pretty good unity here in Michigan, but I'm seeing Ohio is a lot different than a lot of the places that we go. So I definitely commend you guys for that.
They stick together like famhood for real.
Yeah,
I
definitely look forward to linking up.
I said, Marvin, I can reach out to one and I got them all. Looks like there we go. I can reach out to one and they're all on board, but that's what it's about, is just standing together and sticking it out and keeping communication alive, staying persistent, exposing. That's what we all have to do now, is expose people. We have to stop being quiet. We have to stop being silent. We have to stop letting these injustices just get swept under the rug. Isaiah Andrews, like I said, last month, he was supposed to have his trial date. I took it upon myself to put a very fast action together. Charles could tell you I was just at their event, the week before, and then found out through Facebook his court date was coming up. So I'm like, you know what? We're going to try and get some boots down ground there, because people need to know. Isaiah got out in the beginning of COVID, but his case was so quiet from then till court date. That system could have definitely, if we're out there making noises for these individuals,
they treat him different when everybody knows what they was doing to him. You know what I'm saying? So October 2nd, then maybe, they shed a little more light on it. When they see that, then it'll be an outcry. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And people would demand justice.
Marvin, let me say one thing. Last week Ken, we had a thing with a gentleman, also exoneree,
So Ken's part of Marvin.
Ken was one that they're trying to try for perjury now because
it's Ruel.
Let me tell you what happened and why I suggest being knowledgeable. Okay, he's an exoneree. He didn't do it. He wasn't even there. Wasn't nowhere around there. But because he was so true to the game, all right, he was at a bar. They asked him in the courtroom, well, where was your co-defendant? Joe said, I think he was in the bar with me. All right. Later on, the people recanted and realized he wasn't there. All right. And he's been having difficulty with the courts because they're saying, you perjured yourself.
Yeah, the judge
you told the untruth. Okay. Now he's going to eventually work through this problem, this blockade they put in front of him. But that's one of the things, if he had been knowledgeable, he would know a little something to say other than a definitive determination as the way it was at. Okay. And that's, and that's all I'm saying about people being aware. Okay. Because somewhere today, and he asked me, he said, did you remember seeing this years ago? No, it didn't happen. There's people coming together trying to deal with the correctional system, trying to deal with wrongful convictions, trying to deal with corrupt police. It did never occur. All right. It's wonderful. I'm so glad to be alive to still see it. Okay. But I know that maybe 50 years from now, if one individual is wrongly convicted because somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do, or somebody didn't have the right papers together or did the right thing, and he was unknowledgeable and he depended upon his public defender, all right, then, okay, that's a whole life loss, all right?
I mean, it's happening every day where it's coming out.
I mean, I'm sure what you're doing is wonderful. I'm going to push y'all. I'm going to help y'all. I'm going to support y'all. I'm going to do everything I need to do that you can require me to do, all right? But I'm also going to advocate people being aware, all right? Because not being aware causes problems. And probably if you look back when your thing was going on, it was something that wasn't right, and you knew it wasn't right, and you felt it wasn't right, but you accepted it as not.
But see, that's not the case for everyone. My husband was 17 years old, and he
didn't know. He didn't know, and his people didn't know. So they put it in somebody else's hands, and he didn't care. All right.
Yeah, but sometimes, listen, with wrongful conviction, sometimes we don't even know evidence even exists to even be able to challenge it. So no matter how much knowledge you have, you don't know that some police officer is hiding something in a file that you've requested. It took me 13 years to get my FOI request honored. It took me 13 years to get my file. You don't know what you don't know. I don't care how much you know. Sometimes your wrongful conviction can literally be outside of any knowledge that you have.
I'm gonna ask you a question. If you had known that that document or the documentation existed, that you got 13 years later, do you think it would have had an impact upon your conviction?
Absolutely. Okay. But if you don't know it exists because it's being hid, that has nothing to do with your knowledge. There's no way you can get it.
Did you know that it was supposed to have been there? See, because a lot of things that I've learned through tussling with you folks, all right, is that there's a checklist of, like, even on police investigations.
You had your experience. You tussled with them. I ain't never tussled with them.
That's what I'm saying.
Came just snatch me up and I'm in jail. Right.
You know, boom, even on police investigations, homicides, even, all right. There's a
but
investigating officer.
I had two lawyers.
I
had two lawyers.
I know for a fact.
You got yours on you.
I had two lawyers that were supposed to protect me.
All right.
There's a lot in the police file that you wouldn't even know.
Two private investigators that supposed to win and found evidence for
them. You should be like, oh my God, Gina, this is horrible. There's a lot.
Some police
departments. There is a lot of misconduct that is hidden inside police files, especially. Especially, I found so much stuff, and then I found DNA in the prosecutor files. Marvin, I'm sorry, Bernard gets hyper.
Yeah,
please don't think that he's attacking or nothing like that. But you need to calm it down, sir. Anyhow,
but
misconduct is serious. Actually, 54% of wrongful incarcerations are a result of misconduct from the prosecutor and
absolutely the police. And jailhouse informants. You know, you have a jailhouse informant that's coming to court lying. Your knowledge can't stop this person from coming in and lying on you.
What's crazy?
I could get a witness in my trial. My witness came after my trial was over.
Mm-hmm. We actually had our juvenile court stopped. They went out, got the hearsay witness, coerced her on the way back. That's how they got my husband bonded over in the dog court. So they're just crooked. They do what they want because they don't feel that they are touchable.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's where we have to step in.
And one of the things that occurred with Jenna, I'm not being aggressive. I'm just passionate about what this is because I don't want nobody to experience or mess their life up like I have. All right. And it's not that as complicated as you think it is. There's a lot of trap falls out here, and a lot of guys who I know that are still there that I want to try to get here. But one of the things that happened with you particularly, I'm familiar with on your husband thing, was that a gentleman said he was at a certain place at a certain time as his alibi, and come to find out he couldn't have been there because it wasn't even happening on that day.
Right.
All right. Yeah. But the police accepted it. All right. Now, what I'm saying that is, we went through some things to try to get down, direct you out. Hopefully I was helpful. But if people would know the information that is required to be presented in order to begin a prosecution.
Yeah, but Bernard, do you realize how hard it is for people?
That doesn't blanket every wrongful conviction.
No,
I got to push back on you, bro.
All right.
And I understand you know some things, and you learn some things from even being in the system and going through the system multiple times. But when you literally have not done anything wrong, and you have homicide detectives that have choreographed a prosecution against you, no matter how much you know, it's not going to stop people from coming into court lying or saying what these detectives told them to say. And the detectives understand the law just as well as you. And they're going to make sure that those witnesses come and meet every standard that they're supposed to in testifying against you. And it may take you 20, 30 or 40 years to uncover what they've done to you. And that's what has happened to a lot of us, where we didn't know that the information even existed until after the fact. We didn't know that the jailhouse informant then done this 6 and 7 and 8 other cases.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because it was hidden. So no matter how much knowledge you have, like, oh, I know they ain't supposed to do this or they can do this, you don't know what you don't know.
Right. Like I said, there's even when Bernard and I first started digging into my husband's stuff, before even getting the police files, there was so much more I learned just getting those police files that I didn't know the whole 6 years and investigating. And my husband, there's a lot of stuff that's in there. He blatantly told his lawyer, like, I didn't even know about this. I didn't even know that person did a statement. I don't even know this. I don't even know that, there is a lot of besides especially in prosecutor trial. So yeah, let's just go ahead and conclude this segment here. Let's promote wrongful conviction day. Share on all your platforms. October 2nd, 2:30 p.m. Cuyahoga County Justice Center. We will be boots on ground with several organizations and several exonerees. After the end of the rally, we will do a march to the free stamp, which is literally 1,000 feet across the street. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact Epic Team 20@gmail.org. Any last words, Charles?
Congratulations, brother, on your Freedom Day.
Yes, 1 year. And he has a major announcement. Please follow Marvin on Instagram. Marvin, do you want to throw that out there real quick?
I think there's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem with the audio. You coming through kind of broke up. But I think I heard you say something about people can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook at Marvin Cotton Jr. Instagram, the real FMC, _real_FMC. I have a big announcement that I'm making October 1st, which is the anniversary of my release. So please tune in and watch it live. I'll be making an announcement about 8 o'clock. You can see a lot of the advertisement for the event on my social media sites. Definitely make sure you tune in. Make sure you guys tune in. I look forward to you guys hearing the announcement. I can't wait to see you the next day on October 2nd. Right after that, I'm getting on an airplane. We're flying down to Missouri to help some wrongful convicted guys out there. So I got a pretty busy week coming up, and I hope to be able to work with you guys every step of the way.
Absolutely. You're locked in now, Marvin. You and Ken both. I appreciate you guys so much. Even if it's, through stream, you're still right here in studio with us, sharing your testimonies, your stories, and, giving out that real raw reality of what it's been being wrongfully incarcerated. We know that you guys endured a lot of things while being incarcerated. You're still going through it still to this day, no matter how long you've been out here in the free world. Charles has been out quite a year.
3 years in November. Congratulations on your Freedom Day, bro.
Yeah. I'm sure it doesn't get any easier. Like I said, I have a really great bond with a lot of these exonerees here in Ohio. And I see them, I watch them. It doesn't get any easier. So we just need to stick together as a family regardless and continue the fight and stay persistent. And we have to be boots on ground. If we're not making enough noise, we need to make more noise, which is why I love this platform right here at No Static Radio, the voice of the revolutionary, where we most definitely what, Marie?
Don't bring static, but we still don't bring the noise.
Bring the noise. Girl. Don't bring no static, but we bring the noise. Thanks everyone for tuning in. That's the end of this week's segment of Kickin with the Kenneys. Tune back in next week for 426.
And Marvin, I see you on the second. Forgive me, I've been a little aggressive. That's just my nature. So, yeah, I'll see you second.